this is Sabina at Cross Keys Crafts. Today with the visible image ATC for October 2023. I had to think there for a second, time passes on so quickly. And the topic for this month is Halloween colours. So it doesn't matter what stamps we're using, but the colours are a range of purple, orange, black and or green. And I have decided of a combination of green and purple. I don't think I've ever used these colours together, and I'm really intrigued by this, and I hope this will look good. But I'm also bringing in some black soot just on the edges. I've already decided on that. As far as stamps are concerned, I had a look through my stash and I thought these birds wouldn't look nice on a Halloween related card. And I've also found this sentiment, but I don't know yet how I'm going to use this. Sometimes what you're most afraid of doing is the very thing that will set you free. So I thought with the word afraid, that might work with it. And I was also looking at here the grass on the Hedgehog Hugs stamp set, but I'm not quite sure whether I will use this. At the moment, I'm not really bothered about the stamps because I just wanted to create the backgrounds, and these will have to dry because whatever I'm stamping, I would like to heat emboss that in black. So I thought I'll start with this today, or tonight I should say, and then this will be dry in the morning and I can continue tomorrow. Normally, if you've been following me, I like to work on a bigger piece of cardstock and then cut these pieces down. But because I know I want to create an edge with the black soot, I thought I'd cut these to the final size. This is a 5.5 by 5.5 piece because I want to use it on a 6 by 6 card. And then this is the normal ATC size card for which is 3.5 by 2.5. And I just have to decide later on which way round I want to use that. So I'm starting on the small scale first, and I will then do the same thing on the bigger scale card, so I won't be showing you that. And my idea basically is to have some purple at the top, some green at the bottom, and then I thought about maybe doing some faux bleaching in the background and then coming in with a black soot to frame it all. I'm not quite sure yet whether I want to just use spritzers of water for the faux bleaching or whether I actually use a stamp. I'll have a think about that in a moment. So for this technique, for the faux bleaching, you need some water reactive inks. So I've got the Lavinia Elements Lime Punch here, and then this is a Spectrum Noir Harmony Crushed Velvet. I'm not sure whether this is still available, but obviously any water reactive dyes are suitable. So I'm coming in with a lighter colour first, I think. And you've seen me do that before. I will fill up my brush, but then I will just go into the lid so I won't be too heavy-handed. And we'll just put this sideways. I think this is easier. And I'm coming in from the side, and then I can increase the pressure for more colour. And rather than going back on the ink pad now, I can pick up this colour, and I know it's not too much. Although having said that, with it being a Halloween theme, I think I can have it a bit more green than I would for like a natural theme. So I will actually ink this up again. And just a bit lighter in the middle. Apologies if my camera wobbles. That's because it's attached to the table. So, and I'm now doing the same with the crushed velvet again. I think I'll turn this round. I'll find that easier working from that side. This is a different kind of stamp pad. This is more like a spongy thing, like a makeup sponge, whereas this one seems to have some fabric on the top. So we'll actually test it here. Oh, this is much lighter than expected. So again, I'm coming in from the outside. Oh, it is dark there where I hit the edges. So then I'm increasing my pressure. I'm not an expert blender, by the way. I find that very tricky sometimes, although it depends on the cardstock. This, by the way, is just an ordinary 300 GSM cardstock, but it's very smooth. And I did actually have a scrap piece here to hold this down rather than getting my fingers inky. So I think I will just go in again and just blending over the middle here. Because I'm working on such a small scale, it doesn't really matter what it's like in the middle, but just blending this in a little bit, and I think I'm happy with that. Just seeing if that looks Halloweeny enough. I think I would like this a little bit darker, just because I know the faux bleaching won't show on the lighter colour. So rather than dabbing this off in the lid, I think I will just go in with a heavier hand. Yeah, this is better. Yeah, this is nice. Don't know how the camera picks this up. So, and now, as I said, I'm coming in with the black soot just to create a frame on the outside. So just starting on the edge, just working my way along and blending it out a little bit. But I'm not going in too far. And again, I can just pick this up here rather than going back on the ink pad. And again, on the outside, working my way in. Again, I should use this really. Because the problem is, if you got your fingers on the inky bits, and I will turn this round now, I'm ending up with purple on the green, and I don't really want that. I will just enhance the corners a little bit more. I recently saw Joe Rice do that, and I think that makes a difference. So especially at the bottom here. Yeah, I think I'm happy with this. I think this looks very Halloween at the moment. So I shall quickly do the same technique on this piece of cardstock, and then I come back with hopefully an idea how to do the full bleaching. So I have decided for the full bleaching, rather than just using some splats with my water bottle, I'm using a stamp, and this is from the gin set, because I thought this looks a bit like running blood, so I thought that would work well for the Halloween theme. So what I'm doing for that is, on an acrylic block here on this side, I'm just putting down some water, not too much, and I'm dipping my stamp into the water. Try not to get it too wet, so I'm just spreading this out a little bit on the stamp. And then I tell you what, I'm starting on the big card just to make sure I'm not messing this up. And I've already just put my finger there, wet finger at the bottom. So I'm just sitting this down here, just randomly, I think, in the background. Let the water seep into the cardstock. I shouldn't need a dry finger to put this down. And then I'm stamping this off on the side. Just taking the ink off there. And I will continue this. Just taking the water a little bit off, don't want it too wet. And I'm just continuing this here in the background. So let it seep in. And if you find you've got some puddles here, you can use a little bit of tissue paper and mop this up. I think I'll have one more here. I don't want it to be too busy. I might find a different stamp to put a bit more texture in the background. but the longer you leave it to sit, the more it will react. So I'm just setting this aside for the moment, and I'm doing this now on the ATC as well. I think I will actually, just because I'm limited with space, I will actually turn this upside down and just use it this way around. So then I will still use the water bottle, I think, for a few more spritz. Might almost be too much. The other thing you can do is just open it up and just use it like this, or use a fan brush. I could do that. Just put a bit of water here on the side. Pick it up because I've got a big spot there. Apologies if the camera's not picking it up that well. It is evening and the light's not great at the moment here. So it's another way of getting some specks on here. But I think I will just leave that to react. This has actually got a bit too much water on it now. But as I said, I'll just leave this now by the time I've added the motif. So I will just do a bit more here, just like this. I think I'll leave this now at this. So as I said before at the beginning of the video, I will leave these to dry now, and I will come back to these in the morning. I might have to ink this up a little bit more, and I will now off camera dab off the water a little bit here as well. But otherwise I'm happy with that. It gives some texture in the background that makes it interesting before I stamp the motif on it. So this is not actually a day later, it's about half an hour later. I redid the ATC because I wasn't quite happy how the shape here disappeared because it just got too wet. So I thought I'd just dismiss this. So I quickly inked this up again and did the stamping again. Just a little word of warning, here the stamp was actually a bit too dry, and I think the sort of paper came off a little bit with the stamp. So make sure your stamp is wet enough but not too wet. As I showed before, just use your finger on the top of the stamp to distribute the water a bit more evenly, and then this shouldn't happen. I've also used the sentiment stamp here for some faux bleaching. I did it on the green as well, but this is not that obvious, but on the darker colour obviously it shows a little bit better. So, and whilst I was preparing things I want to put on these cards in the morning, I got some stickers ready as well. I came across this stencil and I thought, yes, I will use this for the background. So I'm going to apply this first now and then leave that to dry as well for the morning. I know that some of this then might disappear a little bit, but I just like this as an extra layer of texture. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in with the same colours as before, the lime punch and the crushed velvet, but just by adding another layer I can get different shades of the green colours. Sorry, of the green and the velvet colour. So I'm just inking up my brush again, just holding it down in the middle, and I'm just working my way in the direction of the stencil here. And if I lift this up now, you will see it's just a hint of it, but this will just be enough without taking away from the design underneath. And even though I'm covering a few of the speckles again that I've just added with the water, they will still show. So I'm just keeping my finger on the middle, yeah, and this will just be enough. I might actually, just thinking, I will go in a little bit with the green here, and I think this will give another nice dimension. And maybe the same here. Or maybe I just stick to the green. I've done it now anyway. So maybe just blending this out and not coming in with the crushed velvet. Having a look. Yeah, I think that's just enough. Maybe just a little bit more of the green. Yeah, I like that. And it's, as you just could see, I just didn't apply a lot of ink, but it just gives a lovely new layer to this. So I shall quickly do this off screen on the ATC as well, and then, as I said, then I will leave this to dry now. Sometimes I have to stop myself, and I'll come back to this tomorrow. So it is the next day. Both cards have dried nicely. I think I did something here though off camera afterwards, which is use the sentiment stamp with a faux bleaching on this one as well. It doesn't show a lot, but it just gives a little bit of texture. So now that this is properly dry, I can heat emboss on these now. And I showed you these yesterday. I will use the birds here from this stamp set. And I'll just use these birds here, and I think on the bigger card I will also use the feather with the birds. And I have decided not only to use black embossing powder, I've got the fine one here, but I also own a black sparkle. I think that would be nice as well for the theme. So as always, when you heat emboss, use an anti-static powder just to get rid of any excess of oil or anything. Normally I like stamping with my stamping platform, but today I think I'll just use the acrylic block here. I'm just contemplating that I will quickly stick this down so it doesn't move while I'm trying to stamp. So I'm just using my stick it removable just to pop this down. And I don't want to touch it again, so I'm just using this piece of scrap paper just to press it down, and then I know it won't move. So I'm inking up with my Versamark. Obviously any embossing ink is fine. So sticky that it sticks on my block sticks on it. So I think I would just squeeze them in here. I think they fit very nicely, coming from the corner down there and then going up to the top. So apologies if my camera wobbles. I think I probably said this in this video before, it always does. But seems to be very wobbly at the moment. I'll just see if I can fix that in a moment. So when I lift this up now, I'm just trying to get my finger underneath. Trying not to touch the edges actually. And that's the problem when you do stick it down, you've got something on the back. So I can't see very much really. I will just have to risk it. And I think I do the smaller birds at the bottom with a normal embossing powder. So I'm just using a spoon here. And again, I'm conscious where I'm touching this, so just touch it there in the corner, the top. So I'm just applying this here at the bottom. Yeah, I think that's okay. Seems to be a bit of a gap, but it doesn't matter. If you ever have gaps with embossing powder, you can always use a gel pen afterwards. Sorry, I was going off screen there. So that's fine for the bottom. I'm just getting this out of the way. then use the sparkle ones on the top, because the sparkle one is not as fine as the black one. Oh, but it does look cool. Don't know if camera picks that up. Need a bit more on the edge there. Yeah, I like that. So give that a good tap. So I'm going to heat set this off camera because I don't like making the noise. But especially with glitter embossing powders, I will heat set it from the back first to try to melt it in, because if you blow on it from the front, I find it usually blows all the glitter away, and I don't want that. So from the back first, and then if I need to apply any more heat, I do it from the front. But don't forget to move your tool around. Don't stay in one place for too long, because sometimes the paper singes from the back as well. This one shouldn't be too bad because it's not too thick, the paper, but it's worth checking that it doesn't turn brown on the back. Both my cards are heat embossed now, so I just wanted to show you the first one. I think I need to replace my embossing powder, though, my black embossing powder, because it's not shiny all the way through. This normal embossing powder is a bit matte as well. I don't think this was a mixed embossing powder here, because the actual glitter ones, the sparkle ones, are shiny all the way through, so that can't be the issue. And I had it before with another card, so I think it's time to replace that. But it is good enough for this one here, because I will also apply some stickles on this one here. And with this one I wanted to show you, I just used the normal black embossing powder here, and then the sparkle one here, but I missed out a spot here. I don't know whether there was a bubble, like an air bubble underneath the stamp there when I put it on, but this is easy to remedy that. I have got this Wow embossing pen, so I can come in and just fill this in with the embossing pen. I try to do it a bit unevenly because the stamp is not sort of fully, you know, like solid. And I also just spotted another thing up here, but I think I will remedy that with just a gel pen. I don't know if the camera picks it up there. There's a tiny spot missing there. So all I need to do now is just to go over this again with my sparkle embossing powder and emboss that again. And then another little tip, I just hadn't thought about this. I used the sparkle embossing powder on this, and then I didn't clean my spoon before I went back into the normal black embossing powder, and obviously some of the sparkle bits came off. So be conscious not to contaminate your embossing powders, because obviously on one project in the future I will have some of these glitter bits or sparkle bits on my black embossing, but it doesn't really matter. So I quickly do this off camera, and then I have a little think how to apply the stickles and what else I want to finish this off, because I think it could do with a little bit more here. And with this one I think I'm actually quite happy, although I contemplate having that stamp, the sentiment stamp, again here at the bottom in black. As I said, I'll have a think whilst I do the heat embossing. I have zoomed in a little bit, just for you to see that, and also put my light on because the daylight's really going now, and if you hear any noises in the background, it's because it's the most horrendously blustery day. It's really, really stormy. So I just wanted to show you this. So I've got my gel pen here, just testing it off the side, making sure it's flowing nicely, and then I can just pop really just a little bit there and close the gap. And because it's shiny, nobody won't know that it's not embossing powder. And the other thing that happened here again, where I went over this bit here with the embossing pen, this was nice, but now all the sparkle has gone there. And my idea is just to disguise that by going over it with my Spectrum Noir clear overlay. So again, I'm just testing it on the side, making sure the sparkly bits come out. And let me just show you the before. And now I can just go over this. I know it's not proper sparkle, not proper glitter, but at least it will come up as a bit of sparkle ideally. It's actually getting lost a little bit. I'll have a think what I have to do there. This is weird. It's like the paper's absorbing it. It's not too bad, but it's not the finish I wanted. So I'll have a think whether I actually put a sentiment on this. Anything can be rescued. Or whether, I tell you what I could do, just put some of the clear stickers on it maybe, because this should have a similar effect. I'll have a think whilst this is drying. Also, there are different ways of, let me just zoom out again, of getting the cardstock unbent, because obviously with the heat embossing it bent quite a bit. So you can put it through your die cutting machine. This can stretch it out a bit. Also you can mist it a bit from the back, but just be careful it doesn't get too wet because you don't want to shift the ink. And then you can again put it through the die cutting machine, and that helps. Or if you just want to make sure it glues down properly, just use red tape to put it onto your card base. But sometimes if it's too warped, it actually pulls up the card base, and sometimes that doesn't really work. So I'll have a think about how to do that. I'll probably do the version where I mist it a little bit and then flatten it out in my die cutting machine. Okay, so I have rescued this by just putting on the diamond stickers, and you can hardly see that this was not the original sparkle embossing powder, except for the fact that this one had a bit of gold in it. So I just dabbed a bit around the other bits as well, and it blends in really nicely, and you can't tell that it's not the embossing powder. So before I adhere the lime green stickers on the card, I want to have a play with this and on the ATC. I just want to stamp this sentiment again, and I would like to have it on the card here and also on the ATC. Obviously it won't fit on the ATC completely, but the recipient can read it on this one. So I'm just using my normal VersaFine. That should be fine. Setting it nicely because this is suitable for water reactive inks or other things that are water or have got water in them. So I'm trying to be cautious that the lime green stickers doesn't take any of that ink off. So this one, just looking where I'm putting it, I think it will just go over the bottom of the feather there, but it doesn't matter. So again, I'm being brave, just stamping this straight away. If it is a bit grungy and has got bits missing, it doesn't really matter. I like this look with visible image stamps. Yeah, so it's the bit here that went over the embossed bit. So again, I could just get my pen out, but I think I just leave it at that. I could go in without inking this up again and see if I can press down on the other side. Just rolling it off there a little bit. Also, I tell you what, I think it didn't help. You can see now I did rescue it a little bit. It didn't help that this goes off the acrylic block. So don't do what I do. Take a bigger acrylic block and then it will stamp properly. So I shall move this over now, making sure the bit that I want to stamp properly sits on the acrylic block. And then it should be okay. Contemplating doing a second generation stamp, so stamping it off and then doing this. Yeah, I think I like that. Or don't I? Yeah, we'll have a second generation. So stamp it off once and then setting it down here, because then it's just more texture than actual sentiment to be read. Yeah, so you've got the more grayer look to it. Yeah, and the main bit is the afraid that I wanted with a Halloween theme. So I'm just leaving this to dry for a moment, and with the stickles I thought I'd just come in at the bottom here of the birds. I might do a little bit in the middle there, but I thought if I just go over this just a little bit to counterbalance the sparkle on this side, that's all I need to do. Let me just get this out of the way. So I'm just putting a bit here on my scrap paper. You can put stuff on acrylic block if you want to, but I just like to use my finger. And I'm just dabbing this on. Can you see? So contemplating whether I want to go any higher. Sorry if I have got gaps in my talkings because I'm thinking. I think I would just, with my dry finger, just dab it on like this, and then it will sort of go out that way. And I think that's all I need for this one. So I shall be doing the same on the ATC at the bottom. So I want a heavy application here, and then because obviously these are already sparkly, I just needed to keep it in that area, and I think that will just be enough. And also it will help me to cover slightly matte birds there where the embossing powder got a bit too hot. So I shall quickly do this off camera, then I will put these on the card bases. This obviously is already the same size, so that just goes on a card mat the same size as this one, where I will write the information on the back, and this one will go onto a 6x6 card. Both my ATC and my card are finished now. For the ATC, I just used the bit that I didn't use and put it on the back, and then I matted it with some white cardstock. I did find I have a few stickers left there, but I can use an eraser on that in a moment. I didn't realise until I just turned it around. So, yeah, I'm really pleased with this. I think this looks really nice and really cool and matches the theme, Halloween colours. And this is the main card. I was quite successful in using the my water bottle just to mist it a little bit on the back, and I popped it between two pieces of paper and ran it through the die cutting machine. But don't do what I did, wait for the stickers to dry, or ideally do that before you apply stickers, because I peeled off some cardstock with it, because obviously stickers is like glue, and I had to go over it a little bit with the purple again and fill that in with some more stickers. You can't see it now, but yeah, I should follow my advice a little bit more often. But yeah, I'm really pleased with this as well. I think this looks really nice, and if you think so too, you might want to give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to subscribe to my channel, I'd be very happy about that. And I'll see you soon for another video.